China might be sending everything from needles to cars around the world, but it lacks one major thing that only America possesses. On April 2nd, 2025, American President Donald Trump appears in front of the media at the White House, holding a big red card. This red card contains the names of several countries along with the tariff rates imposed on them. President Trump reads out the tariff rates for each country one by one, and with that, a wave of fear spreads across the globe. Stock markets in the US and around the world crash, because this was a signal of an upcoming massive war. A war not of weapons but of power. And the ammunition of this weapon would be money. Yes, this is what we call a trade war or tariff war. Donald Trump played an indirect move aimed at bringing the world's biggest trading country, China, to its knees. If this trade war happens, then who will come out stronger, China or America? To understand this issue properly, let's first understand what a tariff is. Most people think tariffs are just some taxes imposed on other countries. But actually, it's a kind of import duty that applies only to products being imported into the US. So if America imposes a 26% tariff on India, it means that products coming from India will have 26% tax when entering America. According to Trump's list, Pakistan faces a 29% tariff, and at the top of the list was China with a 34% tariff. Imposing tariffs or import duties is not something abnormal. In fact, if you look at the same list, India has already imposed 52% on US goods, Pakistan has imposed 58%, and China has imposed 67%. The purpose of tariffs isn't just to make money off imported products, but to protect local industries. For example, take Harley-Davidson, a premium American motorcycle brand. When it enters India, the Indian government imposes 100% tax. Let's say a Harley model costs R1.5 lakhs. If India doesn't impose this tax, then this bike would be sold at the same price as the locally made Royal Enfield. Now, if both bikes are priced the same, everyone would prefer the American brand, which would hurt India's local motorcycle industry. That's why imported bikes are deliberately made expensive through tariffs. This also leads to other benefits. 1. The local industry keeps running. 2. Foreign exchange is saved, since American bikes require payment in US dollars, and that reduces India's foreign currency reserves. Now, since America is imposing tariffs, it means goods from other countries will become more expensive in the US, which would reduce their sales, and Americans will prefer locally manufactured products. For example, textiles from India and Pakistan are sold in American markets, but textiles can also be made in the US itself. Due to tariffs, sales from Indian and Pakistani textile industries will decline, but the country that will be most affected is China. In fact, many say that Trump specifically targeted China. Here's why. Until the year 2000, American products dominated the world, a position now held by China. Over time, China took over global trade, even taking away business from the US and other countries. Now, even the smallest things are made in China and exported globally. Because of cheap labor, China produces everything at a very low cost, which allows it to compete internationally on price. Globally, China is everywhere with its products, and local industries across countries are dying. Let's look at US-China trade specifically. In the year 2000, the US imported $80 billion worth of goods from China and exported only a small amount in return. As of 2025, the US imports $440 billion worth of goods from China yearly, while China imports only $145 billion worth from the US. Trump says this trade should be balanced, meaning if the US is buying $440 billion from China, then China should also be buying that much from the US. But there's a trade deficit of $295 billion, and this is what Trump wants to reduce or eliminate. That's why he targeted China, so that products imported from China, like smartphones, become more expensive in the US. Take Apple iPhones, for example. They are American products, but manufactured in China. So, when these products are imported from China, they become costlier, which might lead companies to shift production back to the US. That's exactly what Trump wants. But China doesn't want that. Just think about it. All major Apple products, from iPhones to Apple Watches, are made in China. So are Tesla cars, Dell and HP laptops, Nike and Skechers shoes, LG and Jeep accessories, Black & Decker and Stanley tools, and even toys of American brands like Mattel and Hasbro Pro. All are manufactured in China. If these companies shut down their Chinese plants and return to America, the US would reduce its imports from China by $200 billion annually, bringing the trade deficit down from $295 billion to around $80-90 billion. But there's a catch. U.S. production costs are much higher, so these products will become more expensive, which may eventually hurt the companies themselves. But Trump seems determined to break China's monopoly, even if it hurts America in the short term. On the other hand, China isn't backing down either. When Trump raised tariffs on Chinese goods, China retaliated by increasing tariffs on American products. Now the situation has become a full-blown trade war. Neither Trump nor the Chinese president is stepping back. So many tariffs have been imposed from both sides that a $10 Chinese product now costs double in the U.S. And the same is happening in China. The question now is, who has the upper hand in this trade war? The one who can survive longer will eventually win. Looking at the imports, America mostly imports tech items from China. Mobiles, laptops, electronics, toys. If America stops importing them for a while, it won't affect the country too much. Or they can start importing from other countries, even if it's costlier. But China imports one thing from the U.S. that it cannot survive without, and that might become a big problem in the coming months. Let's understand this. China has a population of 1.41 billion, which is 315% more than the U.S. To feed such a huge population, obviously, a lot of food is needed. The most basic foods are wheat and rice. But the problem is, China has only 13% arable land, which means only 0.23 acres per person. Most of this land is used to grow basic foods like wheat and rice, just enough so they don't have to import those. But those are only basic food items. China consumes an enormous amount of pork, more than any country in the world. In fact, China has more pigs than the total human population of the U.S. Over 400 million pigs as of 2024. So these 400 million pigs also need to eat, and they are fed corn and soybeans. So these 400 million pigs also need to eat, and they are fed corn and soybeans. Now here's the twist. China cannot grow this much corn and soybeans because their land is already occupied by wheat and rice. So where do they get the corn and soybeans for their pigs? From America. Yes, China is the largest importer of American soybeans. In 2024 alone, China imported over 17 billion worth of soybeans from the U.S. Now you might be wondering, okay, fine, what's the big deal? Here's the deal. If America stops the supply of soybeans, what will the pigs in China eat? If pigs don't eat, they won't grow. If pigs don't grow, pork production will stop. And when pork disappears from the Chinese market, prices will skyrocket. And in a country where pork is the staple meat, the public will rise up in anger. That's why the Chinese government is scared of a soybean shortage. Not only because it's a huge import, but because it directly affects the basic food chain and daily lives of people. China has already tried to get soybeans from Brazil and Argentina, but their quantity isn't enough, and they can't match U.S. quality either. So now America has the upper hand, and that's why Trump is confident. He knows China can't retaliate beyond a limit, because the U.S. may lose gadgets, but China may lose food. This is the real reason behind the trade war. It's not just a battle of taxes or goods. It's about power, survival, and strategy. So, who will win this trade war? That's for time to tell. But one thing is clear. This war won't just affect two countries. Its aftershocks will be felt all over the world. From the prices of your phones and laptops to the meat in your dinner plate. Let us know in the comments. Who do you think has the smarter strategy? Donald Trump or the Chinese president? If you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to Unstoppable for more such deep dives. Until next time, take care and keep questioning.